The horror genre isn't something I often gravitate towards. It may be the supposed fear of its contents, but it ultimately comes down to the lack of interest in that theme. Horror icons are cool, and I think it's amazing if you have all-time favorites, but for me, there's only one horror icon that has a special place in my heart. Freddy Fazbear from Five Nights at Freddy's. I was exposed to the FNaF virus many moons ago, around the time the second game was released, and it's been a fascinating journey. Regardless of how you feel about the game's quality or its fan base, you cannot take away its significance for both indie games and the impact on the YouTube gaming space. Many people say Five Nights at Freddy's is their favorite game series, while only enjoying it from the gameplay of someone else, but I have the proud honor of saying I've played just about all of them except for FNAF 4 because that gameplay sucks.
Okay, so the first night is never usually that bad in any of the games, so I'll play through.
Five Nights at Freddy's is one of my favorite gaming franchises, and as such, plastic representation was soon to follow. And to no surprise for the growing series, in the early years, a unexpected player came to take it on. When I hear the name Funko, action figures are not the first thing I think of. The acutely named Funko Pops products are something that everything has one of, but we aren't here to talk about those. In 2016, Funko showcased their then upcoming products related to Five Nights at Freddy's. There were a bunch of different things like plush keychains, cups, the mystery minis, and the emojis, but most importantly they revealed a line of 6-inch action figures. This video isn't about these little guys, as I think they deserve their own breakdown, but I want to mention their designs. For this video specifically, Freddy and Bonnie. Comparing these designs to their game versions, there are some interesting inaccuracies. Granted, I imagine searching the title Five Nights at Freddy's probably granted them more fan art than official game renders, so there's a 99% chance that these figures are honestly based on these old SFM models, which honestly makes them a million times more awesome. But I say all this because these designs would stick all the way until the end. And don't even get me started on the weird packaging choices either. One of Funko's final batch of releases was an attempt at reaching a different demographic. Prior to this, Funko mostly dealt with 6-inch based figures, and a few waves of 2.5-inch minifigures. But seemingly shadow dropped in stores from 2022 to 2023 were these two 13.5-inch Five Nights at Freddy's action figures, a 2-figure wave, a Freddy and a Bonnie. These figures are upscaled versions of their 6-inch figures with a few changes. As the Funko era of Five Nights at Freddy's figures ends and we celebrate the 10-year anniversary of the franchise, I want to take a look at Funko's interesting endeavor at large-scale figures. Starting off with my personal favorite of the two, here's Big Freddy Fazbear. Like I mentioned, these big figures are quite literally large-scale versions of the original 6-inch figures, so they share the same designs and subsequent inaccuracies. To point out the most notable one, Freddy doesn't have an upper set of teeth, but the figures do. I'm honestly not really sure where this idea came from. If I had to guess, I'd assume it's from the Withered Freddy design, the one they love to put on the packaging. The ball joints on this guy are more obvious than his game design, but I don't know, I can look past that considering he's supposed to be an action figure. Speaking of action, let's go over articulation. Considering he's a stiff robot, you get a bit of articulation. The legs have foot swivel, knee joints, and hip movement. The leg can move forward, but not sideways. For the arms, there's a shoulder joint, elbow joint, and a hand swivel. An issue with the shoulders, elbows, and knees is that they can only move so far until the suit hits itself, so that's the limited articulation scheme you're working with. There is no torso articulation, but I think a waist swivel would have been pretty nice. But one of my favorite aspects of this figure is the head. Regardless of accuracy, there is a neck joint allowing Freddy to look around, but there's also jaw articulation, allowing you to open his mouth. Inside his mouth is a very flat endoskeleton mouth, which looks black when it should really be more gray. I mean, it's not like Freddy's going to be hitting dynamic poses, so I guess ultimately it's a fair amount of articulation for the representation. Moving on, Freddy has one accessory, his microphone. To give them credit, they didn't mess it up, so good job, Funko. The handle of the microphone is a softer plastic material since Freddy's hands are unmovable. As such, the microphone can't slot into his hand due to his fingers, so it kind of sits out of place. And since it's softer plastic, the fingers make a dent in the handle. So I mean, that's kind of lame, I guess. Overall, despite his weird quirks, this figure is a lot of fun. He isn't supposed to be super dynamic, doing kicks and flips, but I think for what it's worth, it's not that bad. I wish they made a new head mold for him to make him more game accurate, since it's been a long time since they first designed him, but I like the jaw articulation. It's a funny new addition. Big Freddy Fazbear is great. Thumbs up. Our second and final member of the Fazbear gang to go over is Bonnie the Bunny, the second and last release from this large-scale action figure wave. Like Freddy, this Bonnie is a massive version of the 5-inch figure. Bonnie has the same inaccurate upper teeth, but they all did, so whatever. Let's go over articulation, which follows the same scheme as Freddy. Leg articulation with foot swivel and knees. The arms have the same hand swivel, elbow, and shoulder. Very cool. Like Freddy, there is no torso articulation, but there is a fun little detail, Bonnie's tail, which I don't know if it's accurate, but it's fun, I guess. Finally, we move on to the head, which is fine, I guess. It's able to rotate around on a ball joint. Bonnie doesn't get Freddy's hat and ears, and instead gets his bunny ears, which don't move and just stand up straight a little bit. To be fair, they are bent a little at the top. Just like Freddy, Bonnie has the movable jaw, with the same black endoskeleton in the back of the mouth. Moving on to accessories, Bonnie has one, his trusty guitar. If you're like me, you'll see this guitar and think, what the hell is this? This isn't the right guitar. Well, originally, Bonnie's guitar was this V-shaped red guitar, but nowadays it's this sharp-edged square-like design. At first I thought this was some like Mandela effect, and I always just thought it was V-shaped, but no, you aren't going crazy. From my brief Google search, it appears that Bonnie's original guitar design was copyrighted by its designer, so his guitar had to be redesigned. But when Funko decided to restock the first wave in 2020, Bonnie's guitar was the original design, so maybe there was some weird loophole, I don't know. Regardless, this version is fine. I don't have a preferred guitar design for him, but it's just an interesting development detail I wanted to talk about. Moving on from legal troubles, the actual accessory is not soft plastic like the microphone, so it's very awkward to get him to hold it. You honestly have to try really hard to get it in his hand. It's hard to compare the two since they are basically the same figure, just with different heads and accessories. I guess to maintain the shape of the guitar, they had to make it a hard plastic, but goddamn dude, you could not get him to hold it. You have to make it awkwardly sit on top of his hand. I'm pretty biased towards Freddy, but Bonnie here is fine. Thumbs up. In the end, I like these figures. Despite the limited articulation, it's just pretty random to make large-scale FNaF figures. I'd imagine they look really funny next to like Hot Toys or something. It's unfortunate they didn't make the rest of the team. A Chica and a Foxy would have been nice just to round out the Fazbear gang. For what it's worth, I think this was a fun attempt, but I wish they updated the sculpts to be more game accurate. I mean, they were designed in 2016. They had a long time to make a better head sculpt, but alas, they used it to the very end. I think these large 13.5-inch figures are a very interesting way to sort of round out the collection, but you know, I honestly like these bigger figures more than the little ones. They're just so fun to mess around with, I guess, and that's honestly what you want the most out of an action figure. Anyways, shout out to Freddy Fazbear, I think you're awesome, and happy birthday to Five Nights at Freddy's. Okay, I'm done with this video. Bye.